Hello, hello. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And we have a very exciting twist today. We're going to be trying something out. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to our other...
We'll never do it again, we swear.
Yeah, we swear. But we actually are... we're doing one big recording, but we're actually going to split it into 2 episodes. We're going to talk a little bit about just, book news and theories first, and then we'll have our book review for the continuation of our Throne of Glass series and, the second half / second episode. And so, yeah, let us know if you guys like it, first off. But, yeah, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. It's going to be just a little bit different, slightly shorter for this first one, and then it'll be... actually, the other one will be slightly shorter too, since we're splitting them up. So there's that.
I doubt it. I can yak.
That's so true.
Is that the word, or is it
it's
yap?
It's yap,
Ooh.
but I'm sure you can yak too.
Yuck. I don't like that.
Yeah. I wasn't... Actually, you know what? Believe it or not, I was going to let that one slide. And I'm really glad that you brought it up so that we could have that moment.
I hate this. Quickly, let's move on.
All right. Well, if you're not already following us on Instagram, go ahead and do so. It's at L.A.M.E Book Club. L.A.M.E Book Club Pod. That's our handle on everything on YouTube. So subscribe. If you listen on Spotify, great. But if you don't, Apple Podcasts lets you leave a written review. So go ahead and do that as well. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, do that extra. So great.
Yeah.
Cool. Ellie, do you have any book news this week?
Boy, do I. And this is gonna be...
She asks sarcastically and knowingly.
This is gonna be the conversation of the day. So, guess who posted for the first time in forever, it feels like?
None other than our good friend.
Miss Sarah J. Maas. And
the one and only.
The one and only. What do we call her? Just the goddess
Queen.
of book writing? Yeah. Okay.
The queen of my heart. That's what we call her.
She posts this picture in this beautiful landscape of snow and mountains and trees saying, "Went up north to write for a while. Hashtag ACA what? Hashtag drafting mode activated." This is big. Once again, she is the big Taylor Swift of the writing world, so she does nothing unintentionally. And for anyone else, they're like, okay, cool. But for us freaks, us psychos who are watching her every move, this is huge for us.
Every bit of it.
Yeah. So this tells us clearly, and I think there's been some interviews where she's talked about this, but this tells us clearly the next book is going to be an Acotar follow-up.
Yes.
There is thoughts on whose perspective. Melissa was going to kill me because she thought it was Azriel, and I fought her against that this week, and it almost ended our friendship.
That's so dramatic. Also, I still think it's going to be about Azriel, so I don't think anything was resolved in that one.
I think it'll be Azriel, but I don't know if it's going to be his perspective. But it would make sense if it was.
I mean, if we're going... You're right. I mean, I guess if we're going to go off of perspective, so far it's been all of the sisters' perspective, so maybe it'll be Elaine's perspective.
Ooh,
but
she
did say that she made a comment about Azriel either getting a mate, or something along, I think Azriel's going to be the main bat boy / dude in the book. So I hope it's not from Elaine's perspective, because if anyone's listened to anything, I'm not team Azriel and Elaine. I am absolutely not.
I was never team Elaine in general, but I'm coming around because I feel like the people have opened my mind up to the fact that we just don't know anything about her. And yeah, people are like, well, she didn't help very much. Agreed. But she also went through something incredibly traumatizing. I've been with mild anxiety for most of my life, and that's enough to get me out of a lot of plans. But wait, before we continue, there's a little bit of a spoiler. If you have not read House of Flame and Shadow, don't listen for about 60 seconds, because this is where I'm going to make my case for whose perspective we might see this from. And start. I do think that this might be a Nesta point of view again, because of how, not Emery, Bryce's mom.
Oh, Ember.
Yeah, Ember, how she said, you'll get through this, or it was something along those lines. And they made reference to the tattoo on Nesta's back. And now she has is it called the Star Sword? I just read this the other day, and my brain is all fuzzy.
They call it Gwydelin, but Bryce says the Star Sword. So and then Truth Teller.
Yeah, and Truth Teller. So now she has both, which is a big deal because you can open up portals and voids and all of that. So I think it might be from Nesta's, which I don't necessarily know if I want again. But I will take something over
Nesta.
Nothing.
That's true. I love Nesta.
I just thought her story was done. I don't know.
Here's my thing. I see all the point. You're making very great points, and I could totally see you being right about it. I just like if Azriel is getting a mate in this book, it, in my opinion, it can't be from anyone's point of view other than whoever his mate is going to be.
Yeah.
When Feyre got, it was her point of view, she got a mate. It was Nesta's point of view, the Cassian was the main other point of view and main guy in it. So maybe it's not, the whole book won't be necessarily, I think it might be like Silver Flames where it's like half and half Azriel's point of view, half someone else's. But here's also the thing. We don't know really anything about Azriel. He is same with Elaine too. He is such a mystery. Other than being a shadow daddy, and I only said that because I know you're gonna hate it. But like, other than his shadows, and he's like obviously the most quiet of the three. Like he doesn't reveal anything about himself. We barely know that he was like locked in a basement for most of his childhood and didn't learn how to fly until he was older. Like that's it. That's all we know about him. Yeah. So like I
believe he's musical as well. Book. Don't we know that?
Also, Sarah said that when she was like drafting up this was way before this post, but like drafting up like what the next thing, that Az is a freak, and she could only mean a freak in the sheets. And so that's what I'm saying. Like we're gonna learn so much about this guy. We're gonna learn so much about him. So like it's in my like absolutely impossible in my mind.
Yeah.
For it to be anything other than him being one of, if not the main point of view.
We need to talk about something else, though, because we could have missed the mark with assuming that the next book was about Azriel. Now, I don't remember where I saw her say that. It could be possible she didn't say that, and I'm sorry that our reel went viral if that's not true. But I'm just going to get in front of that and be like, that could be wrong. Now, if it wasn't wrong, please let me know. However, Acotar is the last hashtag she used before she came out with A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the novella. So there is some thought that this could just be another novella. And I will die if that's the case. Once again, something's better than nothing, but I need an 800 page manuscript. Yeah, I cannot settle for less at this point. Now that I finished the Massiverse, I need something of substance.
Here, I saw that reel that went talking about that as well. Mm-hmm. Yes, she is, like you said, just like Taylor Swift, she is so intentional about everything she posts and like how she words things and what she says. Here's why I don't think that, I think just because it was used in Frost and Starlight, I don't think it's going to be a novella. I feel like the only reason she introduced the novella in the first place was to get the audience used to the point of views changing. The novella is from Rhys, Feyre, Nesta, and Cassian's point of view. All four of them. And then the next book was from Nesta and Cassian. So we've already had that. The first 3 books were almost... There was like 2 or 3 chapters where it was Rhys's point of view. The rest of them were strictly Feyre. So we needed, like, as an audience, we needed to
get over it. Yeah.
Yes. But now we've had that, and now we've had another book with 2 other point of view. So I don't feel like we need another novella. However, there's been other rumors that we're going to get a novella, since Moore was, like, almost not in Frost and Starlight at all. We'll get a novella about her time in Valhallan. I can't remember what something like that.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And that other people are referencing the fact that Sarah J. Maas took the picture in like a snowy place because where she was at on the other continent is like super wintry and snowy, and they're thinking that like that has something to do with it too.
So are like the mountains of Ramiel. However,
yeah, but that's not where a majority of Frost and Starlight took place. That's just the ending.
I'm trying to get my brain to remember this, but just like how Moore was gone for all of Silver Flames.
Yeah.
Similarly in Throne of Glass, Chaol was we'll
yes,
talk about
and
this
then
in
he got
our
his own
future
book.
episodes. Yeah, he got his own book. So people are talking about, okay, well, because Moore was gone and Kale was gone, Morgan might be getting her entire book about her story and where she's at and how she's aiding.
I hope,
Prithia,
like, I'm gonna be so honest. I don't hope that that's not the case, because Tower of Dawn was my least favorite book in that whole series, and so I don't want. No, I like Moore significantly more than I liked Kale. But,
so true.
But, and I am so excited to dive into those thoughts in this next series, or in our Throne of Glass series that we're doing. But I just feel like whatever she was doing, I mean, I don't know. I just don't feel like whatever she was doing was worth an entire, like, tome of a book.
But here's something for you.
We don't know the direction that she's going in, so it's possible.
If you want your Eris redemption, it likely needs to come from someone of Moore's perspective, so you can get inside her head of how she now sees him. So if you're hoping for that Eris redemption, it could be from Moore.
I'm hoping for that Eris redemption, but it's not going to be with Moore. So I don't think we need her insight.
He did her the most dirty. We could find out, he wasn't that bad.
He did her the most dirty, and we do need more from her as far as, like, what she was feeling going through that, and honestly, just more details of exactly what happened. But we also need that from his perspective, too. And because we know that she's not going to end up with him, I don't
that would
think
be such a wild card if we just get Eris's perspective in a book. I would
the
hate
novella
that, I think.
is from Eris's point of view, actually. The next book is just about Eris. Well, and here's the other thing, though, too. Okay, now we've talked about this. I have a lot that I could say, and we are going to say it. But before I get into it, like, I wanted us to talk about our theories, what we think is going to be in the next book, and I want to do that at the end. So I want to keep talking about, like, what everyone is thinking based on this hashtag first.
I feel like
so
that's what I feel like for this whole episode.
Gabriella Guava on, I think, Guava's Guava, right? That's how you spell it?
Yeah, it's Guava. Okay, I actually know the girl you're talking about. I followed her because she had some good points.
Yeah, so she did a really interesting... She's the one who posted the reel that dove in, or at least the first one I saw, that dove into the hashtag and, like, made the connection between the novellas. Mm-hmm. But I was reading some of the comments on here, and I'm dying, because, first off, someone said that Acotar fans are the Swifties of the bookish community, and so I also was laughing, too, when you said that Sarah J. Maas is Taylor Swift of books, because that's so true. We are... I like Taylor Swift, she's fine. I would never consider myself a Swiftie, but Taylor has such a cult following, and it's so funny because I absolutely am a part of the cult following for Sarah. And so I feel like I can relate more with Swifties. And it was just a really funny thing. However, everyone be warned for what I'm about to say. Someone commented on here, again, take it with a grain of salt. This is some random person on Instagram commenting something that they saw. But someone said that Libby, which is a digital library app.
Yes, I use it every day. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm explaining for others who are listening who might not know, but thank you, Ellie.
I thought I was your only audience. I forgot we were doing a podcast. I thought we were on the phone. Go ahead.
Okay. Libby shows an Acotar novella 2 that's going to be released in 2028. And I feel like she's either planning ahead.
Wait, I'm looking it up.
It's either good news or it's bad news, and it's going to be like what Goodreads did and just freak with Rebecca Yarros' sequel and just freaks everyone out when it's so wrong.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't handle that. But I like the idea that the next is not going to be a novella, but instead...
It's literally titled. It's titled "A Court of Thorns and Roses Novella 2" and its release date is set as November 31st, 2028. But I'm like, how the heck would Libby have a jump on this and not? Libby is a public library.
It's true.
Okay. No, what I'm saying is, I think it's a mistake. Just like how Goodreads.
I don't know. It says publishing soon.
Soon. It says 2028. That's in 4 years. 4.5 years.
December 31, 2028.
That's in 4.5 years. That is not soon.
Okay, wait. So there's that one. That's the last one. But right above that is number 5 in the series, A Court of Thorns and Roses number 5. And this one says December 31, 2028 as well. So that might just be like a default. Like we just need to put in a date until they have something.
So,
but we might get 2.
I was gonna say option 1 is she has maybe not publicly announced it, but at least within like the professional book community to like publishers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She has laid out that she's going to be doing one more book and then a novella. Or option 2 is that Libby has no idea what the frick frack is going on and is making stuff up.
No,
and
Libby
trying
knows all.
To freak people out. No. I thought Goodreads knew all until they totally screwed up Onyx Storm in the release date. So
guys, this is facts are facts are facts.
No.
We're getting a novella and A Court of Thorns and Roses.
You
number
heard
5.
it here first.
Wow. The L.A.M.E Book Club podcast with the first on the ground, ready to tell you the news.
Not the first on the ground. I read this from someone on the internet, so we're not the first on the ground.
Just cut that part out and pretend.
Someone said it's going to be called A Court of Truth and Lies. I don't know if that's like a guess.
I hate that.
Or
unless it's real, then I love it. Well, but right now, I hate that.
No, they said that's going to be Moore's novella. Which, if that's true, I would like that to be the title of hers. But that feels like someone's just guessing.
Yeah. Okay, next.
Someone else is saying A Court of Flowers and Shadows is going to be the name of the next book.
That's Elaine and Azriel. That's just... they're given that...
Exactly, and I don't want that to be it. However, now seems like a good time.
If Sarah thinks it's it, you know? Like, I will agree if she tells me that that's what it is.
I want Sarah to tell me what I want, and that's where we're really going to know that that's where my heart lies. But until she does, I'm going to come up with my own theories. And
there it is.
Here's what it is. I'm a very contradicting person because on one hand, I don't want Azriel and Elaine to end up together because I don't want all 3 sisters to end up with the 3 brothers.
That's fair, yeah.
Quote unquote brothers. It feels way too cheesy. It feels like something that way too cliche for Sarah to do. So I just feel like in my bones that's not what's gonna happen.
Okay.
However, hear me out. I don't think Elaine is gonna end up with Lucien. I don't care that they're mates. I don't think it's gonna happen. And I also stop. I
won't. But I have something.
Yeah, and I'm leading into that too, because I think I know what you're gonna say.
Okay.
I say
it? Am I allowed?
No, let me finish.
Not now,
please.
Not now, but after, please.
Well, maybe because I don't know where I'm gonna end. Even though I don't want Elaine and Azriel together, I do want there to be a love triangle between Elaine, Azriel, and then Lucien, and I want Azriel and Lucien to fight.
To fight? I just feel like Lucien would end up so beaten.
Lucien would die. He's dead if that happens. And here's why. Maybe it's not going to be Azriel and Lucien, but I do think that she is ultimately whoever she ends up with. I do think she's going to deny the mating bond with Lucien, and she'll end up with someone else. There's also theories, and I think this is what you were going to say, but there's also theories that she ends up with Tamlin.
Why wouldn't you let me?
Well, I said I think.
Okay, well, I want to tell it now. There's the theory that Lucien took
you mean Azriel,
like the blow.
Elaine?
No, Lucien took the blow to cover for Tamlin because of how awkward that situation would be, because when Elaine came out of the cauldron, Tamlin was there for Feyre. This whole thing was for Feyre. Like, he can't just now be like, oh, Elaine, you're my mate. So Lucien might have sensed that, smelled it, whatever, or just Tamlin gave him a wink. Oh, you didn't know this?
No, I haven't heard this.
And okay, so there's a theory that Lucien was covering and said, Elaine, I think you're my mate, which is why we're all like, why would you just say that? Obviously, Cassian and Rhys had some tact and waited until the girl was ready, but he did that to cover for Tamlin so that there wasn't some weirdness there.
Here's why I don't think that's true, though, is because Lucien literally left the spring court just to make sure Elaine was okay, and Tamlin didn't do nothing about it. So I think if he was covering for Tamlin, Tamlin would have had a really hard time staying away still. Just like how he had a really hard time staying away from Feyre, and Feyre wasn't even his mate. So
now, okay, we're gonna come back to Crescent City for this.
Wait,
and
no.
Once again,
no.
Okay,
I'm not done.
No, but this has to do with what you're saying.
Oh,
as far as mates go. So on the topic of of Tamlin couldn't be around Elaine, like he was able to withhold himself from her if they really were mates. Bryce and Hunt, now I know that they chose their mating bond, but then in the end, like they actually were chosen, or they were fated mates. Bryce and Hunt met the day that Danica died, and then he waited 2 years to like come back into her life, right?
Yeah, but Bryce didn't remember meeting him because of like the state that she was in.
Right.
When everything was happening.
Hunt still like remembered her. So even though they were fated mates, like now they didn't recognize the bond, I guess, at that time. But he didn't have to be around her.
Yeah, but to be fair, they didn't. The way the mate thing, they were also completely different species, first off. So I think the bond was different. Second of all, the whole way that Sarah wrote the mate thing in Crescent City pissed me off. Melissa
and I could not disagree more on this subject. So just know, don't come for me, come for her.
I'm not.
I loved
come
it.
for me. Come for me. I don't care. This was stupid. And we're not going to get too far into this because we are probably going to do a Crescent City series, and you will get my full thoughts on there. But it didn't snap into place. Well, I mean, I guess honestly too, the same thing could be said about Feyre and Rhys. Like, it didn't snap into place for him until after she became Fae. Even though he kind of like felt he knew who she, like he felt he was like drawn to her.
Right.
He was drawn to her, but he didn't really know. So I mean, anyways, I don't know. But
it feels so taboo to talk about Crescent City when we're not on that series. We're not supposed to be like discussing with each other until we are. So it feels really like we shouldn't be bringing this up.
I know, because we want our thoughts to be fresh and real when we're talking about it on the pod. But back to Elaine. The rumor is that she's mates with, or she is obviously mates with Lucien. Well, I think that was real. I don't think that was fake. There's a theory, though, that she ends up with Tamlin. And I've thought about this, and I actually think that I would love this, and I actually think that this would be the only redemption for Tamlin that I would be cool with. I'm wondering if, so stick with me here.
Okay.
Lucien, because we know that he is technically the biological son of Hellion, who doesn't have any other kids, so technically he is next in line to inherit the Day Court.
Yeah.
And he also is on, as far as everyone knows, he's son of the Autumn King, the High Lord of the Autumn Court.
Yes.
There's thoughts that Tamlin might, just because of, the state that he's in, be, name Lucien his, heir, and or defect his stat. Again, this is just,
Tamlin might name Lucien his heir?
Yeah.
Okay.
That Tamlin might name Lucien his heir of the Spring Court, because since he's not married or mated and doesn't have any kids, he has no one to pass it on to. So then that would make Lucien, for sure, the High Lord of 2 courts. And potentially, if something were, long shot of him getting the Autumn Court because he has so many brothers, but potentially even inheriting a 3rd. And if Elaine rejects him, there is a thought that, or I think that he could turn into the villain, because everything's lining up for Rhys to end up becoming High King instead of just High Lord of the Night Court. And I think it could maybe set up for Lucien being the ultimate villain to challenge Rhys for that. If he's just so mad and so upset about Elaine rejecting him, then he just kind of veers off the other way.
This is a very Spider-Man theory.
Yes,
where
very much Venom.
Sorry,
not Venom. The other one.
Green Goblin.
Yes, thank you. Green Goblin-esque.
Yes, where Harry becomes the best friend becomes the Green Goblin. Yeah, that is devastating. So, I would love that, actually. I don't think I agree with him absorbing, because Tamlin's the same age. I don't know, quotes around the same age, but Tamlin and Lucien are one of the same.
Because of the state that he's in, either naming him as heir and then defecting, just being I don't want, not dying. But
because he's
there's
so
also back to what I'm jumping around here because my mind is like literally all over the place. But back to what I was saying about Tamlin ending up with Elaine. I think it would be cool if that were the case, because hear me out. Feyre was just like, did not have the personality for him. He wanted someone to dote on. He wanted someone to protect, essentially to be what Nesta was for her. Literally. That's what Elaine needs in her life. That's what she's always had in Nesta. So I think she wants someone to act like that for her.
No, we talked about that. I remember saying, like, she just needs somebody... Flowers. Yes,
she painted flowers on her drawer. And I think
Feyre painted them,
it's always been easy to explain, like, oh yeah, because Elaine gardens, like that's why she's the flower lady. But it would make it so much more Sarah if that actually was like the long game was for it to be more spring court.
I've never seen it as, oh, Elaine gardens so she gets flowers. The fire demonstrates Nesta and inside and who she really is and where she belonged, as far as like, you know, she was death incarnate and she had a fire in her and all this with Cassian, whatever. Now, I guess you could read that like maybe she would have ended up in the Autumn Court, but I saw it more of just like an internal character growth building. And Feyre obviously had the stars because she ended up in Night Court. I truly think Elaine will end in Spring Court, and I know we're going to talk about our theories in the end, but it all has to do with Tamlin's redemption. Mine, I feel like, is a little bit different. I guess you didn't really go into Tamlin's redemption, but
no. So here's what I'm thinking, because okay, and this is why I would be like, this is what I love. Okay, so throughout the whole series, but specifically in Silver Flames, they reference how that she is beauty, Elaine, often. Yeah. All the time. They talk about how beautiful she is and that she is just beauty incarnate. Well, at this point, Tamlin is almost exclusively in his beast form. Mm-hmm. And I would love if we all Beauty and the Beast. Yes, if we, because A Court of Thorns and Roses is a play on Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
And so I would
start
love
and end?
Yes, start and end with it being Beauty and the Beast, except Elaine is the beauty, not Feyre.
I love that!
Yes, see? That's what I'm saying. That would be the only redemption for Tamlin that I would be so on board with.
I love that!
I'm just saying. It, like, bookends.
I'm actually going to be so mad if it's not that.
I'm telling you, that is the only redemption for Tamlin that I'm absolutely down for, that I think would be so amazing, and it just like ties a bow so perfectly on everything. And also back to what you said though about the drawers, about how the fire represents like Nesta. Sarah has come out and said that she originally intended for her to be with Lucian. For the be with Lucian. So this is why I think the fire I think the stars were for Rhys and the Night Court. The fire was for Lucian in the Autumn Court, and then the flowers were for Tamlin and the Spring Court.
True.
But because she decided that Nesta and Lucian would not be a good match, the fire could also be her character. Like, it worked.
Yes.
But I'm wondering if that's not what she originally intended it for.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That does explain a lot more, because I was like, well, fire doesn't really describe Nesta. I guess inside, sure, like you can kind of spin it to that, but I do remember her saying that, and that does make sense to all of this. So I guess if she follows plans, she of course could change directions, just like what she did with Nesta,
just like she did with Lucian. Exactly.
Yeah. But that's such a good theory. I love that one. Are we on our own theories now, or are you still reading comments?
That was mine. No, that was all mine. That was all my theories.
Yes, mine's much in the same, but more so, I just want to hit on the fact that Tamlin does deserve the redemption for the following reasons. I know a lot of people are like, Tamlin is tampon. And for the most part, when I first read this, I was like, absolutely, he is the worst. I get the ick. I'm disgusted with him when he plays his little fiddle. I want to throw up. That's horrible. However, as I've grown and matured and read Throne of Glass and Crescent City, and then just, on my days off, had time to mull over Tamlin's life and just who he is, I've come to this conclusion.
Casually thinking about Tamlin.
And I really think you have to put yourself in this position if you want the general thought of, like, is he okay? Like, is he an okay person? Number one, he fell in love with a girl who killed his friend. And yes, there was the curse, there was all of that. But that was still his friend, and this girl still killed him. And he ended up actually finding the good in her, taking care of her family while she was with him, treating her with respect. He could have been an evil guy, and much like Amarantha, forced himself on her in any way, shape, or form, made her do labor or servant work or whatever, but he treated her so well. Then, in his eyes, mind you, we're not reading the book. We're just in Tamlin's head here. She gets abducted at his wedding.
Yeah. No.
Well, okay, I guess we'll have to go through Under the Mountain first, right? Okay. Gun to my head. Gun to my literal head. Do not move or I will kill her and I will kill you. Yeah, I'm not going to move. I'm going to watch as she plays this out, and I'm going to try to think of something. But if you actually just are a normal person, much like Tamlin seems to be, and you do not have tricks up your sleeve and you can't think of a way to get out of this, and you have to watch the person you love kind of get tortured, and you just really can't do much, you can't do much. That's the end of that. And so what did he do? He didn't do much. Okay, then everything turns out great. We know that. Obviously, she makes the deal. Then she gets abducted at his wedding, their happiest day of their lives. He doesn't see what's going on. She's not communicating. She fully admitted to, she'd go throw up and then just go back to bed. And he was like, hey, the best way I know how to deal with this is to not deal with it. A lot of guys are like that. Doesn't make it right. But for some people, we don't want to just... I know a few girls that are like, I don't want to talk about it, and I feel better that way. He might have thought that's what she's like. That's on him. Everybody goes through struggles, though. Mobody's perfect. It's Pobody's nerfect. No. Yes, that's the one. So then, okay, we're here now. Then he's like, my worst enemy just abducted my fiancé. I'm going to bring her back. So he tries his damnedest to bring her back by not also starting a war. Pretty smart and logical, if you ask me. Then he sends Lucian, who is risking it all, to go find her. And what does she do when first of all, she sends that letter. Okay, yeah, she doesn't know how to freaking read or write. Now she's sending me letters. This isn't her. This isn't my baby girl.
That's so true. He's not keyed into the fact that she has learned how to read and write.
He doesn't know her handwriting. He's so true. Anyone could have sent this. And what would they send, of course, but, hey, don't come for me.
Hey, I'm good.
You really think he's going to be like...
I admit that letter made it seem so much more suspicious than if she had just not said anything. That letter for all of us,
though, we were like, sold. He should have never come for her. She explained what she wanted. But in real life, which is more kind of how Sarah writes, it's not necessarily all fantasy in
it's not black and white.
In their mindset. Yeah, where it's like, oh, well, we should have assumed. No, because I think that's where Sarah is so far above others for me, is when I was reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, we should have assumed that Tamlin couldn't do anything, just like how a fantasy book is. We're assuming that the way things are the way things are. But then when a Mist and Fury came out and Rhys was like, why didn't he try to get you out those moments that you had alone? Instead, he was trying to sleep with you. We're like, oh, this is real life. This isn't just we should assume that everything's how it is. He should have gotten you out. And for me, that's when it clicked oh, this is a different level of writing. So all that to say, let's just jump to the end now. Tamlin is at all costs, I will get my baby girl out. And he is there making a deal with Hybern. Now, he's not aiding Hybern necessarily. He's just saying they can use my lands to go in and out. But he's not saying, I'm going to side with you in the war and I'm going to supply you what you need and I'm going to fight the humans too. He's just doing whatever he can to get his one true love back from the literal enemy. And he does not do the best thing ever. I will admit to that. But who has not made a mistake? Let's cast the first stone. And oops, that ended a lot worse. And then you think, this guy told my girl he's got a mate bond or whatever. Yeah, freaking right. And so you want to break that. I don't know. From there on, it's harder to defend. But all to that point, he did his best.
I do see what you're saying. And I actually have one last piece of the puzzle that I didn't touch on, but I'm glad I didn't because it works so much better now. That if this ends up being true, I will forgive all of Tamlin's transgressions. All of them. And I will understand everything he did. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm not going to take credit for this one. This wasn't me. Taylor, our friend, told me she thinks that this is what the case is, and
So it's true then. Whatever she says goes, exactly. Honestly.
So she thinks that Tamlin actually might have been mated with Amarantha. And let me explain. So, I mean, she specifically says in A Court of Thorns and Roses that Amarantha has known Tamlin's dad and his family. Like, she goes back with his family, and she wanted him. We know that. And I think that Tamlin wanted to be good and did not want that bond so badly that he poured everything into Feyre to try and make that work so that he could deny that bond.
That is so juicy.
So if that's the case, then okay, it makes sense why he was fighting so hard and why he was ignoring the obvious signs that Feyre was not doing well, because he was just so desperately trying
that was his way to convince himself. Yeah,
that was his way out of being with Amarantha. And then even after she was dead, then his mate is dead, and he's just trying to hold on to this. And I think he genuinely, like, could have had feelings for her at that point. Because, I mean, just because you're mated with someone doesn't mean you can't necessarily feel anything for someone else. It's unlikely. And I will say the one, like, caveat to this is I know that the males feel the bond deeper than females, but I also think that, like it says that in the book. It says that in the book.
I believe you, because that is exactly how I would want it written, and Sarah knows me exactly what I want. Yeah.
See, and that's why I'm like, I think if that's the case, then I'm like, okay, you know what? It seemed really messed up at first, but we didn't have the full story. And now that I understand his side of it, it makes sense. If that's not end up being what happened, what you're saying all makes sense, but I just can't. Just because it's real life doesn't make it okay, though, either. And I can't get over the fact that you're right, like you said, some people just don't want to talk about it. They want to deal with things on their own. That's fine. But what I can't get over is that not once did he ever try to at least have that conversation, try to do something and have her push him away. Then, because I mean, if she had done that, then you can't fault him for not trying anymore. But he never did. He just kept saying, it's going to get better. We're going to be fine. We just got to get through this. And that's just so, like, clearly it wasn't getting better. And clearly she was not doing well.
A little
so, like,
tidbit
at what
too.
point do you try something else?
But you also, if we're going to consider that, you have to consider him too. Yeah, she was going through something, and we see more of that because we're in her head. We see what she's feeling, we see her emotions, we see everything she's dealing with, but we don't see his perspective. And he just had to watch his literal love of his life get killed in front of him, and then someone else jump up to save her. And he still couldn't do any, like, he, killed Amarantha in the end, but, like, he had to watch all of that. So he was going through a lot of trauma, too, as far as, his girl just died in front of him and he was defenseless. And then I think that led a lot into the, like, oh, I'm going to keep her safe in the house. Now, the communication could use some work, for sure. But him just being like, no, you stay here, it's going to get better, just trust me. I think that's a lot of him also dealing with just, he doesn't know what to do, and he's trying to keep everybody safe and just make it like it was, everything will go back to normal. So
totally,
it is
100%.
It is on him for sure, but
I will say, I've been saying that the whole time. Like, I do think he was just dealing with things the way he knew how to deal with things. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't, again, like, all this to say, he has trauma too. She has trauma. I also have been the first to say Feyre didn't handle this perfectly either. You admitted it too. Like, she even admits in the book that she could have communicated differently. Feyre is not blameless in this at all. Yeah. But he made everything so much worse, and he also could have tried to communicate a little bit more. He could have not just thrown himself into his work and, like, thrown himself into quote unquote tradition, because, like, all that says to me is that he doesn't truly know Feyre. He doesn't know, because if he had truly known Feyre and truly like loved her as much as he claimed to, he would have understood that, okay, she didn't like that dress. These are all, like, very minor and trivial, but they add up. Like, okay, she doesn't like that dress. She doesn't want this big wedding. She doesn't like being around all these people. Ianthe helps, but, like, maybe I should listen to Feyre and not Ianthe. Okay, the tithe is uncomfortable for her. It's something we've always done, but maybe I should ask her why this doesn't work, and maybe together we could figure out a new way to do things. Like, that was what was so great about Rhys, is he was so open-minded and
that's what makes the whole series so good.
Her. Exactly.
But I also would like to bring up the High Lords meeting, and where he really dug himself into the hole to the point of no return for 99% of readers, and myself included. It's really hard to talk him out of this.
Don't talk like that about my high lady. That was my favorite thing Az has ever done, and I need more of that, which is why he needs his own book.
I need everyone to understand, while I'm defending Tamlin, I'm 100% Team Rhys, obviously. It's just that I just feel like he, this is why I would like to read his redemption. Not necessarily because he's a good guy, but because I think there's more depth to him than we initially assume if we really don't think about his perspective. And it's hard to think about it when it's not written, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
totally.
But the High Lords meeting, ooh, he was in the wrong. Ooh, but
yeah.
If we can tolerate Nesta lashing out how she has 1,000 times at everyone and making it so much worse than it is. And, we talked about this, like you and I specifically deal with, okay, I know in my mind I should stop, but I'm not going to stop. And I just keep digging myself into this hole deeper and deeper. I truly think that was Tamlin's moment of just like, screw it all. I hate my life. Everything I thought I knew is wrong. Egg on my face, but let's go raise hell. That is what that was. And
1,000%. But also, just mind you, I will say, I don't think anyone was Team Nesta until Silver Flames came out. Everyone was like, what's this girl's problem? So
I need to turn on a light because I'm sitting in the dark.
That's fine. Until we get Tamlin's perspective, or until we get some kind of whatever, like, redemption for him, then I mean, the same could be that the same, like you just said, like no one liked Nesta. Everyone thought Nesta was a piece of work. He's not. In my opinion, people's opinions of him won't change much until we get his side of things, which is why I want him to be like a Beauty and the Beast thing with Elaine, and why I want to know that Elaine was actually mated with Amarantha, because then it's like, okay, this actually makes so much sense. And I think it'd be so cool to, one, have Elaine be with someone who's not a bad boy, even just to make things different because it feels too cliche. And two, to have both of them deny their mating bonds and then choose to be together. Oh, that's cool.
We need to talk about something else, though, which will dismantle all of your theories. And once again, I'm going to bring up House of Flame and Shadow. I'm going to bring up House of Flame and Shadow, so there will be spoilers for that. And here we go. The third theory, I don't know how many theories we've actually said, so third is a wild guess, but
I'm just
another
going
theory.
With third.
Tamlin could have been Rhys's sister's mate. I don't know if we learned Rhys's sister's name yet. I think some people know it, but I feel like they might also be guessing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Now, obviously, in House of Flame and Shadow, there is a lot of crossing paths with both Acotar and Throne of Glass, as far as just mentionings, winks, little hidden nuggets here and there of, like, Lydia named her child Bran because of because of the old King Brandon from Throne of Glass. Now, literally, when Bryce lands in Crescent City, she sees Rhys and says,
"Wait, no, when she lands in Prythian."
Yeah, I'm sorry. Prythian. She sees Rhys and she was like, Rune? And then realizes, oh, it's not Rune. This is a different person. That's not nothing. She would not write that for
absolutely
nothing.
Not. No, that's not nothing.
We immediately know Rune and Rhys are related somehow, some way. How would that be? Because when Tamlin went to go kill, or Tamlin's family went to kill Rhys's mom and sister, he saved, at least her sister, in my opinion, sent her through that little swirling pool that he has in his spring court, the one that looks like stars, because everyone says, why is that like stars? Why does he have a kind of piece of the night court in the spring court? I think it's because his sister was there, created something like that with him, or I don't know. And he ended up being able to save her, whether through sending her a portal in, or sending her through a portal in that little pond, or some other way. She went to Crescent City. She got with the Autumn King of, what do we call it? Crescent City, I guess. Yeah.
Lunathian.
Lunathian. Yes.
I say Lunathian. I don't know if that's.
Your pronunciations and mine are so opposite. And I just have to learn that that's okay.
It's crazy how we read the same words and just could be so wrong. Watch both of us be wrong.
Both of us. But yeah, I think she got with the Autumn King. The Autumn King never really cared about her. We know that. And then they birthed Rune, who looks just like Rhys. So, and she's still out there somewhere. So there's a chance she could come back and make this big appearance.
Yeah, except here's my issues with that. One, she would be Illyrian too, and it would Rune's mom doesn't have wings. And then Rune would also have the ability to potentially have wings, and he doesn't. Also, I do think that there is some, like you said, she thought he was Reese, so absolutely she thought Reese was Rune, so there's got to be more to it but it also just feels like such a stretch that, because like they went to didn't they kill them in the Night Court? How would Tamlin have been able to bring her back and then get rid of her without his entire family knowing?
Hey, that's not my job to figure out. That's Sarah's job to figure out.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, but I do think she has to play a role in
she
that
definitely
Rune
has
looks
to play
like
a role.
Reese.
She absolutely
There
does.
has
I
to be
just don't
something.
think Tamlin has anything to do with it. That's
and they
just,
talk
I guess,
so
ultimately.
specifically about Rune's mom not really like being in the picture, which means she's obviously Reese's sister. I mean, there's no word.
Which could only mean one thing.
Could only mean this.
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't thought about that like that much. So I don't really have any theories on that.
Something. It has to.
It does.
Not necessarily
play something,
with Tamlin, but it's something.
Except I don't know. Reese doesn't talk much about his sister's personality or anything, does he?
No, I don't think so.
Because I will say his mom was like a strong female, and Reese is a bold guy. So I can only assume that his sister has got to have some kind of backbone.
A little firework. Yeah.
Yeah, and his Brune's mom seems like a doormat.
She does. I will give you that. Okay. Well,
I don't know. I like where your head is at. I do think maybe it's like some kind of descendant, but or cousin or something. But I would
hate if it was a descendant. I want it to be a direct.
Well, I don't think it can be a descendant because I think the timelines are
similar.
The same.
Also,
so like which is another reason why I don't think that's possible. Actually. For Rune's mom to be Reese's sister, because that was his younger sister, and if Reese and Rune are like, gotta be.
But they because 500. She sent him a long time ago that they were killed.
Reese is 500 and Rune is only like 100. So
yeah,
I guess there's that.
That's insane. These numbers we're saying are insane for ages, and the fact that they all look like 25.
We're just talking about it. Yeah. Oh no, because Reese is 500 and Rune's like 100.
I know.
So.
Another thing, just in the style of writing, House of Flame and Shadow was a huge gateway. House of Flame and Shadow was literally the first Avengers movie for these books because it was the initial, we're going to add in Nesta and Azriel into the Crescent City books. Now the paths are officially crossed. Now the portals are officially open. Now we know that this can actually happen. I really think every book after this, whether she adds on to Throne of Glass
has
or
got to have some reference.
House of Many Waters, it's going to be a mix match of these characters now. It's going to be a mashup, and I am here for it. This is the Sweet Life on deck. The Sweet Life of Hannah Montana. That's so Raven.
Of Zack and Cody.
Obsessed.
Yeah. Whatever that one was. I agree. I don't think she can make more books of Throne of Glass just because it's been so long and she tied it up so much with a bow. But I do think she could make spin-offs of it. So, like, maybe, like, it's just Rowan and Aelin, or maybe Adian and Lysandra, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, some kind of, like, spin-off where that incorporates that world back into it. But I just feel like it would be so dumb. She's already written 8 books about that
to
series.
Open it back up. And
it's
so
been years.
Cleanly ended.
Yeah.
But she did say in the interview that we all saw, Throne of Glass is over, but is it? And we're like, is it? Is it?
That's true.
So
but that's what I'm saying.
Could be
like,
anything.
It's like, I think it could be like a spin-off of it, but I highly doubt she'd write a 9th book. Who knows? I don't, but...
Well... All that to say, guys, we have a new act. That's the book news. We have an Acotar book coming up and a novella, according to Libby. So let us know your thoughts and what
you think it's going to be.
Your theories. Maybe we'll talk about it some more. But enjoy this little bonus episode.